This one's gonna be interesting, let's say. What's up, guys? That guy with a pencil, fun fact, doing to have it on me and keep it on me at all times. Another fun fact, here we are to do a breakdown / live reaction review and analysis, kinda, sort of. It's more so a review for 227, because I already recorded a live reaction to 227, but earlier on in the week, I did a purge, I was leaving, so that was a lost of time. So I did already read 227, did a full reaction to that, but 228 is new, I haven't read that one, so this is gonna be weird. Like, I do have another series that's also in that same predicament, except that's 2 chapters, so that's gonna be so much fun. But regardless, I'm actually very interested to kind of see where this is going, especially after 227. So 227 is gonna be just a regular review, which I rarely do for Chainsaw Man since these are usually live reactions. So let's actually get into it and let's have a good old time. So I'll have it on me and keep it on me. Let's see what this sort of locusty individual has and keeps on him. In chapter 227, the taste of shrimp in blood. So, we open up and we see exactly where we left off last time, right? Arm for, well, not necessarily arm for an arm, but kind of like arm for an arm and a head-ish, with Denji's arm being entirely removed. And remember, Denji's not Pochita, he is literally just dual armed, so him losing an entire arm to this thing is actually a very good testament to how powerful the Locust D really is, right? You gotta remember, while Denji, I want to put like a question mark exclamation, like I'm not sure, because we just don't have enough information, but like, relative to Pochita Black, it's likely Denji Man is probably lower on the chain, question mark exclamation point. Like, typically these like final forms for characters are always like their strongest form, but considering Denji Man is smaller, has less arms, has less chainsaws, I want to say he's probably weaker, but let's even assume, even if we really want to glaze Locust D, like, this is actually a really good feat if you think Denji Man is actually relative to Pochita Black. So, pretty crazy for this thing to just come and take his arm off. Because remember, we have never necessarily seen a prime Chainsaw Man, quote unquote. Like the one that, you know, 1v3 / the rest of them, the entire original Horseman plus all of Yoru's fellow Ds at the time. That one, we just never see. We have no idea what one that was like. And technically, while we aren't dealing with the Giga Super Nerfed Chainsaw Man / Pochita Man / Denji Man from the end of part 1, or even the Pochita Black, we are dealing with an amped version of that. I still think we're actually dealing with the prime version of it, but still, considering how powerful Pochita / Denji Man / even just regular Chainsaw Man Denji should be, it is kind of crazy that he lost the whole arm here in exchange. Sure, he did take an arm off himself, and even lop the head off, but still, very good feat for Locust D, which is what makes the end of this chapter so weird. This is one of those weird cases where, like, I am glazing, but I know how this one ends, so it's kind of weird. But with it being the case, we see that Denji is very, very used to pain and being delimbed, and thusly he simply looks at his dismembered arm and is like, I got started, man, again, you don't think people I gotta drink for this, man, this sucks. And then we see, you know, the actual regular human being, for the most part, Asa being like, oh, it hurts, and naturally Denji's like, I should be like way stronger than I gotta at least be relative to the other guy. What's going on here? Asa, what's the deal with that D? And it was kind of funny. You know, I understand Denji in this moment though, because like I would clown him for like not at all really worrying about Asa's current state of being, considering she was being absolutely multi-pieced up by Locust D. But in his defense, he is missing an entire arm and also, just like us, presumably very, very confused why this random Bug D is this powerful. Well, of course, I do now have extra context of why Locusts should be very powerful, not just the whole idea that Locusts are now immortal, and they also come with a whole bunch of, you know, people, so if they can't perish anymore, that's just a whole lot of endless things that strike fear, and a bunch of people are already scared of insects, so bada bing bada boom, obviously. There's also the extra, it's a big word that starts with B, and it's a book. I'm not going to say, but essentially, it has a whole bunch of implications on that side, too. And we have to remember, even the Horsemen, right? Like, you know, the main antagonists of part 1, now part 2, they are also heavily tied into the whole big word I'm scared to say. So, all those ties here are probably why Locust is super giga amped and able to compete relatively well against 2 top tiers, right? Like, for all intents and purposes, unless you think Yoru was truly giga sandbagging at the end of 226, she did genuinely need Denji to come in and, like, put some moves on. But you could argue that maybe Yoru was sandbagging specifically in order to get Denji to get them out of the underworld. As Yoru herself, while she's shown the capacity to summon the underworld doors, she did literally detonate them with La Bomba Nuclear, so it may be the case that Denji is the only one who can now transport to and fro. Though admittedly, it does take Yoru a hot minute to actually come back into the battle by the end of this chapter, so it is a weird thing on whether or not Locust actually is just legitimately a top tier. Like unironically, one of the strongest Ds we've ever seen in the series, just considering the scaling that he has to two top tiers. But of course, naturally, Asa, being none the wiser to literally anything, is like, oh, I don't know, which is very, very valid. I do wonder, though, and once again, I reviewed the chapter earlier in the week, that I took a little bit to actually finally re-review it, which chapter 228. I don't remember, is she healing? Did she also get the benefits of Yoru's contract, or does she not heal this chapter? Because I remember this chapter specifically mostly Denji Man fighting the Locust D. I do wonder, does she heal? She says, ow, it hurts, but like, she should be in much worse shape if she's not healing. And it is still her body, let's see. But, we see that it seems like the door to the underworld gets absolutely, completely eviscerated as Denji and Locust D go in for another exchange. Notably, this time, though, Denji is at least able to somewhat seemingly react, as they do seem to clash neutrally here. Notably, neither of them reattach their limbs, nor their, like, specific missing extended body parts. As you can see, the Locust D's head is still dangling, but it is able to move. Once again, a testament to, one, the nature of nothing being able to perish anymore, and two, just the nature of insects. I'm telling you, if you do not darn near atomize the average insect, if you leave it alone for a little bit, it'll just and just keep fighting or keep living. I remember having to learn it the hard way. I remember when I was very young, I had crushed an ant and I left it there. And then I came back in a little bit. I ran because I was scared of insects at the time. And I came back, and then the ant just straight was there. It was still like barely hobbling along, but I, full like 5-year-old human pencil, had crushed the tiny ant, which was like a fraction of my body weight, and it just recalculated itself back into motion. And obviously that is when things in our universe can still perish. Meanwhile, this is literally a D, the embodiment of fear of a major concept, and also nothing can perish. So we see the two clash. And very specifically, Denji does seemingly put it on the back foot, only for it to use its head as a mix-up tool, which seems like, I respect the gall and the ingenuity, as naturally Denji's like, yo, who the heck are you? Which does make sense. Like, I'm not sure if Denji would recognize a locust, and like, to be fair, you show me a locust, and I probably would recognize it. But of course, he's not just looking at locust, he's looking at the locust D. And naturally, he's having a whole bunch of questions, as he should be way stronger than this. But we do see that the Locust D does actually blitz him. Notably, I made a mistake here. He does not use his head as a mix-up tool. No, where at least in this initial exchange, he and Denji went band for band and clashed evenly. In this case, we see Locust D blitz Denji outright as he's asking the question, grab him by the extended tongue? What is that thing around Pochita's in Denji Man's neck? I guess it is a tongue, even though it's not like linked to the whatever, the fleshy mass that's around his neck. Locust D grabs that and essentially takes Denji for a toss. And Denji goes, "Argh!" as he's slammed through a building or three. Absolutely decimated by the raw power of Locust D. Once again, unironically, kind of just a top tier, I guess. Like, I'm fine with that. Notably, the only thing, if I had one critique for this chapter, and I'm very interested to see how 228 is handled, this does, I mean, like, it simultaneously feels random, but makes sense as a logical consequence to Denji's actions, right? Like, he very specifically was like, oh, the random assortment of Ds that Lol D gave me before I nibbled her, or before I Pochita nibbled her, like, these are too random, these aren't working. Even though he did literally eat legs, like, that was actually pretty useful, who knows what else he could have eaten. But essentially, he was put in a position where he wanted to get a stronger D, so it makes sense when he goes straight to the underworld, he finds a stronger D, and it comes and absolutely mollywops his cheeks, bro. Still very interesting that it is, like, outside, but then again, I think I keep linking it back to the idea that there is the big B word that I'm not going to say, that's probably why it's Locust. Like, I'm trying to think of a broader thematic implication, right? Because, like, I can understand why it would be powerful and, like, people are scared of insects, plus the little, the big B word implication that I'm not going to say, but essentially, I understand, like, on that front why it's so powerful, but, like, I'm trying to think on a grand scheme, why is it being integrated into the battle as it is? Because notably, it's not gonna last. It's not gonna like it's gonna be gone by the end of this chapter in particular. So it is weird that we bisect in this way, specifically Locust. And once again, outside of that like big important book connections, I can't think of like a direct link on why this would feed into like the thematics of the battle of Yoru versus Denji in particular. Like you could, like, I don't know. I'm trying to think. Like you could maybe make an argument in something to be like, oh, it is the randomness of nature that even interferes with the state of wars, and like there's something. But I feel like I'm stretching. I feel like I'm like genuinely reaching and pulling for something that may not be there. So I'm not sure. But of course, we see Denji get slammed through 3 buildings, and as he's laid up there taking serious damage, Locust D is like, hey, do you know who I can kick? And immediately, that's what the design reminds me of. I literally, funny enough, there's a thing all in the original 227 review where I was like, the Locust D's design reminds me of something. It definitely reminds me of something. I don't know what it is. And obviously, it is just a locust, right? It reminds me of bugs. It reminds me of Cell. Very specifically, Imperfect Cell. That's what it is. I was like, well, there's something in my head. Like, something is not clicking in terms of what Locust D reminds me of. It is specifically Imperfect Cell's design. They say Imperfect Cell is because it has obviously the massive, more bug-like implications, and without any of like the massive humanoid not massive, but the humanoid features that we associate with the later versions of Cell. As ugly as Perfect Cell is, he definitely is a lot more humanoid. He's just missing a nose, and Perfect Cell's just like he's a dude in a bug suit. But Locust D specifically reminds me of, if not even Imperfect Cell, what it actually like really reminds me of, thanks to the big bulbous eyes, where even Imperfect Cell has like the traditional Dragon Ball eyes just with the slits. It reminds me of Cell's like post-egg, pre-first form larval state. Like that husk that Gohan, Bulma, and Trunks find, that's what it reminds me of. Still don't have the idea how that incorporates like thematically to the battle. But now I finally, that bit I could not, with that thing I could not remember from the original recording, there it is. That's what I remember this from. But with it being the case, we see Locust D putting on the pressure on Denji specifically. And this is interesting. I wonder if it is just aggroed onto Denji, as we see he even, like, this toss even breaks the head chainsaw of Denji. Like, he's doing serious damage to him. But I don't know why it stopped attacking Yoru. Like, especially considering Yoru is presumably the weaker opponent right here, because it isn't even Yoru, it's Asa. I don't know, it's very weird. But it is going attack for attack, band for band. It is definitely overwhelming Denji. He even drops a kick directly into him to send him even further through the building. However, much to Denji's credit, he is more than capable of still competing while he is getting clearly outpaced and somewhat outstatted. He does, with one whole arm, mind you, manage to swing, and put enough pressure and cut into Locust D enough to send it flying backwards, and even open up the opportunity for Asa to grab one of his lingering arms and huck it straight towards Denji. And Denji, in a feat of really understanding his D biology, which I think once again works for this is the one thing where I'm like, maybe Locust doesn't mean anything specifically in regards to the thematics of the battle, but this is meant to imply like like it's meant to still be an evolution and like a showcase of what Asa and Denji could be, right? Like I'm really, because so far I've been able to, like, even with my kind of like underwhelmed feelings about certain aspects of some of the recent chapters, I've been able to like look at them and be like, okay, how does this fit into Yoru's characterization? How does this fit into Denji's characterization? How do the elements all like work together to fill the overall story that Fujimoto is telling here? And, like, the main focal point of this chapter really is, one, Denji's like tenacity, determination, two, his understanding. Like, you see, he immediately refuses the arm back into himself without consuming any juice, mind you. He's still heavily damaged, but he actually manages to, immediately reattach. This shows Denji's development, understanding of his powers, how he's able to relink them, how he's able to connect them, and how he's even transcended the typical limitations that he's had before in this new hybrid state. And obviously, Asa getting up and being able to throw this goes to show that, one, she does in fact have the contract enabled, considering she's able to heal her body after being in a horrible state, and now she's perfectly back to normal, meaning, sorry, people from that state who have a Crohn's disease, looks like a few more of you may have boomed yourselves, or not boomed yourselves, but gotten boomed. But she throws it, and very specifically, she throws it hard enough that Denji's able to, reconnect with it. She's not anywhere nearby. Remember, Denji's arm is all the way back here with her. And then Asa manages to run the 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait, possibly, is that 4? 1, 2, 3, 4, possibly 5 building distance to actually get the arm to Denji and throw it with enough force that they can immediately relink. So this is a good showing of what Asa and Denji could be if they actually had complete and full masteries of their powers. It's kind of like, it's a good example of this. That's not massive. See, the thing is, though, just because of where we are narratively, I feel like any example I could pull that parallels this would be massive spoilers. It's all endgame stuff. But essentially, think of it as like, there are some stories where they end and the characters lose their powers, right? Or like they lose the epics of their abilities, right? They'll have like a super giga final boss form, but they don't get to keep that by the end of the narrative. For my Sonic fans out there, think of like almost every end of the Sonic game ever post like Sonic 2, where there's a super form of some sort. Except for like CD. CD doesn't have a super form. But like technically CD predates 2, which predates like 7 years. So that's fine. But essentially, think of every super form ever where you get the super crazy next level amp state, but then at the end of the game, like characters are back to normal, or if not back to normal, they're nerfed massively. This kind of thing for Asa. We're going to see what she could be like with the raw stats, the strength, the contract, the ability of Yoru. But obviously, she's not Yoru, and it's very likely she's going to lose these powers. Remember, the whole core of the battle right now is to free Asa from Yoru. That's why I'm so very, very confused on Locust D's, like, just general integration outside of a consequence for Denji's actions, and to show this possibility that these two could have, which I guess that's enough. I guess that's enough. Like, it's like, it doesn't need to be more than that. So I think maybe this is the case of me, like, digging, finding, like, silver, and then trying to go digging further for gold. Maybe I am supposed to just see the silver here, because this is that showcase. We see Denji reconnect, and then we see him absolutely take Locust for a bit of a walk, right? Locust was seemingly having an edge on Denji, but then Denji gets the arm back, locks in, thanks to the help of his Goif, and then throws a chain through and then around Locust D, immediately yanks it towards him, guts it, and then immediately like this is a really cool combo too. I like what he does here, because he essentially scorpions it, like, get over here, pierces it, grabs it, locks it in, pulls it in, slashes it, mainly to pin it down to him, and then with the head already dangling, he and then goes to immediately devour the head, which we know is more than enough to erase a D from existence. So he does actually manage to completely overwhelm Locust thanks to the assistance of Asa, which is once again, like, thematically, it goes to show how Denji, at least when he was fighting by himself and Asa wasn't helping, he was kind of either being matched or basically outdone by a high-level D, but the second he gets help, the bonds that make Denji strong made him strong enough to overcome this adversary. That's nice, and this once again fits thematically into Denji overall, like the whole idea that Denji is strong because of the people he's been with or the people he's lost, but people in general, and he's always stronger with those other people, and it's through teamwork that makes the dream work. But once again, it feels so random in the middle of Yoru versus Denji, which presumably we're going to go back to thanks to what happens here at the end of the chapter. As we see Denji, and I will admit, this is a crazy... like, a friend of mine sent me this panel after they had read the chapter, notably after I'd done the 227 review, but I deleted it. And they were like, dude, I can barely tell what's going on here. And I do kind of agree. I think if anything, the chaos of the panel, like, maybe I may be glazing Fujimoto a bit much, but I do think the core focal point of the panel is conveyed in sequence. I agree if you maybe take this panel out of context, then maybe you're like, what on earth is going on here? But very specifically, in the context of the sequence, I think it makes sense. Then he chops up, he gets the arm back, he chain grabs it, pulls it in, and then goes for the head. And you can clearly, like, Denji Man's head is such a clear, strong focal point in the shot that, like, naturally, even in spite of all the chaos going on down here, you can clearly tell what's happening. And based on what the narrative has shown so far, you know that the consumption of a head is going to erase the D, which is the most important part here. I do agree this is a bit messy, but I can even still see everything. You just have to look at it for a minute. I agree, though, on like one quick glance, it does look a little bit messy, especially considering the grayscale textures overlap a bit too much when we know that Fujimoto has access to more grayscale textures. Like, notably, the flesh of Locust is really intermixing and intermingling with the flesh around Denji's neck, which is dangling down here. Like, I agree, I can barely tell where one ends and one begins. But in the shape language, unfortunately, even with the legs, is a little bit too similar. And since it has the exact same coloration, it does look a little bit weird. But I can at least clearly identify Denji Man in this, except for, I agree, his right arm looks a little bit lost here, more than I thought upon first viewing. But looking at it, I can at least see Denji's right arm all the way down through to the chainsaw at the bottom. I can see, though I can't, I will admit, I can't tell what this is. Like, clearly this is meant to be Denji's leg here, but still, it is messy down here, but I think the overall message of the panel gets conveyed. And this has definitely gone into a discussion that I've seen back and forth about part 2, or whether or not Fujimoto's not, like, I don't want to say fallen off, but prime Fujimoto art versus current Fujimoto art. Is there a difference? And like, looking, now I've seen some of the comparisons, I do see what people mean. And it is a mix of, like, just clear portrayal and artistic detail, and also just, like, the level of the drawing. It is interesting. I may have to make a video myself going over it, because it is interesting to compare, especially considering where we are narratively, the end of part 1 and its art, and how clear and communicative it was, and how distinct and sharply defined it was, versus the end of part 2, which definitely does have some moments of, like, not just messiness, but also just not up to snuff, end of tier quality. But with it being the case, we see that Denji does have Locust D's head in his mouth, and he juicy, and he gulps it right down, completely erasing it. And naturally, Asa's like, are you okay, Denji? And naturally, Denji's like, tastes like shrimp. And hey, I don't know, I've been feeling some shrimp, but at the same time, I have a bag of shrimp, but they truly are like shrimp. I'm feeling real late. I just don't want to have to say that. Right? Like, I should. Or like I didn't fry them. Realistically, I should just put them in the toaster oven and just eat them that way. But they're like so tiny. I knew they were gonna be tiny. I knew they were gonna be tiny when I purchased them. I didn't get jumbo shrimp. I did get non-oxymoron shrimp. So like, it was my mistake. I literally bought it alongside like a bag of calamari rings a while ago, and I ate those immediately because I was just like, okay, that's easy. I batter it down, I throw it in the oil, and that's fine. But for the shrimp, like, I ate some of it, and I haven't gone back yet. And I do have some salmon I need to cook too. And I did recently get some whiting. So, and that's probably what I'm going to have for din din tomorrow. I'm going to take, in fact, I literally pulled out the salmon and the whiting. So I'm probably going to have that. I may throw a couple shrimp in. But all that aside, it tastes like shrimp, which is interesting enough. I mean, like, notably, shrimp are called roaches of the sea. But, like, he's eating a locust, not a roach. But insects, bugs, shrimp, all similar enough. And naturally, we see Asa sweating, looking a little bit lost, a little bit concerned, a little bit worried, but then she smiles at Denji. And then we remember that, oh yeah, this is the final battle between our main villain and our titular character. And Yoru immediately takes back over and bangs him. And not in the way that Denji probably wants to be banged. Yeah, remember Yoru? Like, that's the thing. It does feel like this, like, the whole interaction with Locust. Especially since I doubt, like, who knows, maybe 228 will do something with it. But I highly doubt that anything's going to come from this. Like, this is just going to be a point that happened mid-battle to interrupt the fight and give us some, like, Denji-Asa symmetry and, like, teamwork. And not in the way that we had them, like, teaming up in the mental realm while their others were fighting. Like, I don't know. It does feel just mad random. Because Yoru goes, bang! And blows Denji through a wall, right? He was right next to him and then booms him. And then Denji naturally takes massive damage. He wasn't able to fully recover. As I mentioned, he essentially reattached his arm by sheer force of will. He didn't actually drink any juice. And here you can see the damage building up. And now that he's no longer avoiding Yoru, or wasn't really ready for Yoru to just immediately take over the body again, he gets off guarded by the bang. And while he's able to tank it somewhat, he is taking damage. And he says, hey, no fair! And naturally Yoru's like, fair? All's fair in love and war. And booms him! And immediately bangs him again, throwing him through another building. So, unironically, Locust D is so powerful, I genuinely think he somewhat, to some degree, actually does outscale Yoru, as she did wait until Locust D was taken care of to actually come back out. And Locust D's, what? Casual toss throws Denji through more buildings than Yoru's individual bangs. So, yeah. Locust D upscale. And Yoru downscale? Locust one-shots falling? Is this the lore? But with that being the case, we see she hits him with a bang, send them through another building, and all these birds are like, whoa, gang of Rooney, we ain't not be able to perish right now, but we ain't trying to get nibbled on. You looking mad thirsty, bruv. And naturally, we see Denji in a pretty darn defeated state. And we end chapter 227 with her pointing down one more time and about to go bang on Denji. If you remember, this is basically almost the exact same position she had Pochita Black in after La Bomba Nuclear punch, showing once again, I do think maybe Pochita's meant to, like, Pochita Black is likely meant to be stronger than Denji Man, but Denji Man just has Denji as, like, an active participant instead of, just the body. But overall, I'll give it, here's the thing. I'll give it W chapter status, I'll give it worthiness, but it does, like, this is something that I may not understand until, like, the part 2 is over and I, like, just reread it. I'm like, because like outside of the whole, it'd be nice to show Denji and also working together at their like and EOS full power endgame cells before the story ends. Like it does feel quite random. But like I'll admit, I give credit to Fujimon for at least thinking through the consequences of going to the underworld haphazardly and summoning a powerful D. It was meant to be an unexpected aspect of the fight, and it was an unexpected aspect of the fight that did throw a wrinkle in things. Like it works for what it is, but I'm not sure if what it is works into the grander narrative surrounding it. It'd be like if in the sticking with the Sonic analogy from earlier, it'd be like if in the final battle with Chaos in Sonic Adventure 1, like Chaos and Sonic, Super Sonic had to like randomly team up against Dark Gaia. You mean like that doesn't make any sense? It's a non sequitur. And yeah, it doesn't make any sense. It's a non sequitur. That's kind of how I feel about Locust D. Where like technically all the ingredients are there for it to make sense, but like still feels a little bit random. But actually, with 227 being done, let's hop right into 228, a chapter I do not know. So I can start from the beginning, and let's see, chapter 228, Dove. All right. Jeez, no, my boy. All right, so she's actually blowing them apart. Denji, how you gonna get out of this one, G? Denji, how you gonna get out of this one, G? Denji, she's low key deep firing you, bro. I don't even think she's battering you up. She gonna nibble you down. By nibble you down, I mean turn you into a weapon. But like at this point, what's even the move? I'm not even to be fair asking War what the next move is. Probably just more War, but still. All right, leg gone. Hey Denji, where are you feeling the pain, man? Is it in your leg? Okay, I'm sorry, but let's see. Bang, bang, shit, darn. He is genuinely getting blown apart. Oh, but she stopped at least a little bit. Oh, he's getting away. I mean, like, he doesn't have much to get away from. But, alright. I talked about his, like, mastery and control before, but clearly it doesn't mean too much. And you know what? This face from Yoru is actually interesting. It almost, like, it is almost a look of, like, straight pity. And I guess it does work, right? Because we gotta remember, Yoru, despite, being the literal embodiment of war and being freaky deaky in a bunch of different ways, and obviously loving battle and endless conflict above all others, armed conflict in particular, because, war, she definitely did, and probably will, have very complex and weird feelings about both Denji and Pochita. About Chainsaw Man, right? Like, let's be real. Yoru, let's say she felt a certain type of way about Chainsaw Man after getting beat by him. She had, like, not necessarily a romantic, but, like, it was definitely a strange obsession with that random voiceless creature that she encountered that did beat the taste out of her and nerf her drastically. And then, of course, because of Asa's ties to Denji, and honestly, once again, Chainsaw Man, we know that her emotions and Asa's emotions overlay because they're literally sharing a brain. So I bet actually seeing Denji, right? Because maybe she was able to still fully rationalize Pochita as something of an animal, right? Because Pochita has the capacity to speak in, like, clear, coherent sentences. Like, we see him do this with Denji, but that's only in the astral / spiritual / some realm. So, like, Yoru's never really been able to conceptualize Pochita as nothing more than maybe a rabid dog or an animal or a creature. But, like, and thusly, her hypothetical love for Chainsaw Man may just be like a love of his power and what he could do and stuff like that. That's what her love for Pochita could be. But in this case, looking at her here, I'm not saying it's regret, but clearly she didn't have to let this happen. She could have easily banged off that chain. She could have done a variety of things here. But she's looking down on Denji with like a sadness in her, which does ultimately make sense considering, all the complicated feelings she probably has going on. And I do like that, right? As much as Yoru has developed and changed and matured, she still definitely is bound by the fact that she is in a human vessel. And that human vessel and that human heart she's been developing alongside her innate D, what's the opposite of inhibitions? Bitions? I guess? But essentially, her innate D qualities are heavily contrasted by the human heart of it all. And of course, by the nature of her concept, she is naturally very contradictory and very confused in general. So seeing her look down on Denji like this, it's a lot. Let's see. He wraps a chain around the tent side. It looks like a speed sign and just slowly drags himself off. Let's see. Oh, well, maybe not slowly. That man's got motion. But yeah, look at Yoru. I wonder, but and probably this chapter will answer it. But if I had to hazard a guess, this may be multi-layered, right? I went to the idea that Yoru probably has at least some lingering romantic feelings for maybe not just Pochita, but also, Denji, just because of, the nature of the relationship with Asa and her own possible personal development feelings for Denji, considering she did want to corrupt him to her side and stuff like that. But also, I wonder if maybe it's just now hitting Yoru that unless she decides to go to the underworld herself somehow, once again, she doesn't, her life's kind of gonna be boring because she beat the final boss, right? We don't necessarily think about it too much in terms of video game terms, because you can still, some games don't even let you free roam afterwards. Some games have secret content that's harder than the final boss afterwards. And yeah, sure, maybe you can go run the ones with darkness or any of the other primordial fears that are out there running around the underworld that have never perished before. But at least for her perfect paradise, which is an endless earth consumed by herself, consumed by war, she's kind of met her own final boss. This is the rematch she'd been waiting for. She got it. She won the first round, again, in the rematch against Pochita Black specifically. She won the second round against Denji Man. And now I think she's realizing, oh, it's over. It's done. It's kind of I just realized I have all that showed up there. I know the Bob showed. But essentially, she realized that now it's kind of all ogre now. It may have not hit her, but now it's probably finally hitting her that, oh, once I beat him, guess that's it. What's a weaponized Denji? What's a weaponized Pochita, Denji Man, whatever, Chainsaw Man? It's kind of over. Now, I mean, sure, you live on to rule your utopia, right? But I guess it's kind of I feel like it's that feeling you get, I don't know, for any of my fellow adults who are going through, hopefully not gone through it too bad, but gone through college, gotten a job, and then so one day you just sit down and have the revelation and be like, oh, I have to do this for the rest of my life until I die. You do have to have that moment of, oh, this is it. At least almost everything else up to your more fundamental and formational stages in life has okay, we're gonna get to this point, and then we're done. And then that feeling of completion is there, but you always have the next thing to go after. For elementary school, it's middle school. For middle school, it's high school. And then depending on where you go, it's trade school or college. And if it's college, then it's a graduate degree. And if it's a graduate degree, then it's a master's degree. And if it's a master's degree, it's maybe a doctorate. Or if you may be going into pre-med or medical, and medical just takes forever. But essentially, you go and go and go, and you get to a point where the structure's kind of there, but gone. You just need to work now. And if you don't work, you're not going to be able to pay the bills. If you don't pay the bills, you're going to be homeless. And if you're in the wrong place, homelessness is criminalized. So, you do just need to do the same thing over and over and over again. Of course, you can add variety to it. You can switch up the jobs you do, if you're lucky, in this time. But, still, there is that point where you hit that moment. And then, of course, you have to figure out your own answers at that. The way I go with that is, doing things that I like on the side. I'm one of those people who works to live. I don't live to work, right? I do love the work that I do, but driving in the hours every day. It's not the fun thing. It's not my favorite time of the day. Clicking my heels, get dressed. That's not being limited to someone else's time is not my favorite thing. Let's just say that. And I'm assuming Yoru's in that same position now. She's graduated college. She's had her time at the job, and now she's realizing this is the job. This is life. Once she defeats Denji, it's over. There is no greater threat, at least not one that she knows of, maybe? Unless Yoru's hiding something else that she wants to go fight. Her utopia is here now. It's done. It's finished. And she may have complicated emotions about that. Let's see. Denji but I give credit to Denji. He's not giving up just yet. Oh, but wait, where did she even get that? Oh, did she use his leg? Or one of his arms? Let's see. She may have, she may have actually used, that's actually good. Did she take one of his, blown off arms and turn it into another chainsaw? But notably, look how she isn't even smiling. She doesn't, she's not having fun. And I guess that is, once again, kind of in many ways, and hey, I'm blessed enough to say I've never had to personally be on the front lines of a war. But it does, as I've learned more and more and more about history, especially the history of quote unquote, or not even quote unquote, sometimes endless wars that have raged on for generations upon generations. And at the end of them, there isn't really like there's satisfaction that it's over, but you are fundamentally changed by it. And of course, with the advent and understanding of things like PTSD or like the event, like essentially you change fundamentally from war. And even war itself would undergo fundamental change, especially once this quote-unquote war against Chainsaw Man, this war against Bushido, this war against her one true enemy is now at its end. Yoru is probably just like, well, it's done. And I don't know. It is a strange thing, right? Like, I think back when I graduated college, I was like, whoa, we're going with the sauce! But, and then, like I said, it didn't really hit me for a bit until, you know, like, maybe like a year or something into, like, real world work. And I was like, oh, well, I guess this is just life now. And, like, it's something, like, I know, but normally, though, as you can tell, like, still smile and enjoy things, but that is beyond the purview of certain things. It is a strange relationship dynamic you sort of need to build with yourself, because, especially after a point when there is minimal structure in life other than, like, work, pay bills, do everything else you can beyond that, for that is the necessary component. Like, you need to find your own pleasure in things. You need to find your own happiness. And Yoru right now, considering she is a very one-track individual, like, doesn't really have anything else to define herself by, so she's just getting this done to maybe reflect and figure out what she does want to do with now her eternal life, as little D is gone, and there's going to be no one left to challenge her, unless she runs into Locust D2 Electric Boogaloo, I guess. Let's see. Did you find a way? The chainsaw cycle. Oh, jeez! Okay. And you know, he's alive. Like, unironically, literally got back shots, but he's, or back slice? Is it really back shots if you get cut in half? Actually, I don't know. But essentially, got back slice, but he's alive. And you know, I do wonder, like, is all of him alive? Like what does happen? Like, we've seen it. We've seen characters survive, like, even the one nuclear. But, like, are both halves of them alive? Do cells die anymore? How does that work? Like typically, you're in a constant state of death and rebirth. It's only after a certain point where, like, I think your cells have, like, an exponential refresh rate, and then you reach a certain age, or, like, an average of a certain age, and then your cells stop replacing themselves at the same rate, and that's how you truly start to get older, and, like, your body starts to break down and stuff like that. So you wonder, in this case, like, is it possible? Like, is every single splatter of juice, is that technically all still alive? I don't know. I don't know, like, is this guy's legs, like, would they still function? Because they can't perish? I don't know. It's very interesting. Let's see. Oh! Yeah! Wait, what happened? Did he hit a wall? Oh, he hit a wall. Unfortunate. Very unfortunate, but let's see. Alright. She rolls up on him. Ah, wait. Did you wait. Oh, wait, no, he's pulling his starter. But, like, will that be enough? Do you have enough juice? If any juice at all, Denji? Bro, what are you gonna do? Yeah, that's the thing. I thought so. Even pulling, unless he has the fuel, pulling the starter won't do anything. So yeah, he's kind of. Oh, he did get his arm back. Okay. So he had enough juice for some regeneration, just not all of it, because his whole arm came back. All right. Okay. Maybe Denji has a chance. Let's see. I need blood. I need that drain. Denji occasionally, don't we all? But interesting. Will he be able to get it though? Like, Yoru, but still, look at Yoru's face, man. I don't know. This is, like, unironically the most serious and somber we've ever seen the character. She looked more engaged last chapter when she was banging. Yeah, she looked more engaged last chapter when she was banging him. But, like, now he's just laid out and taking it like a good boy. Like, I don't know. It seems like she's kind of done. Huh. Strange. Well, not strange. I guess it does make sense. Once again, you can collude it with multiple things, like just the idea of, like, the void feeling that certain people are filled with at the end of major conflicts. Like, I have nothing else to define myself by. Oh man, this is existential. It truly is existential dread too, Electric Boogaloo. But in Yoru's case, it's like, man, existential eternal dread, emptiness, nothing, combined with conflicting emotions of actually, like, loving and caring for Denji. Let's see. Oh, okay. I was like, wait, what is he doing? But since he can't move that well, he's going to he's going to force himself to throw up something? Okay, he's gonna throw, but like, dude, ironically, I mean, to be fair, he's probably a decent bit away from the body now. Like, what if you throw up Locust? What if you throw up that? But he's presumably throwing something up so he can take, instead of eating the whole thing, or like the whole head, he's probably gonna like take a bite out of the head to get some juice. But will that happen quick enough before he gets down by the chainsaw cycle? I'll tear you to shreds. But see, like, once again, she doesn't look, like, especially when I think of Yoru, specifically towards the end of her fight with Pochita Black. She seemed a lot just, like, more, like, happy and engaged and, like, willing to do things. But now she's, like, it's very procedural in a way I wasn't really expecting from Yoru. Also, I'll put it that way. It does feel strange to see her be so, like, it's over. It's done. I'm gonna spread you wide open and eat your cheeks out. Like it's very matter of fact at this point, which just feels weird. Let's see. Zzz. Oh, it didn't really click me. So he did manage to. Hold on. Take me back. I wanna go back. Take me back, please. Let me see. Did he actually eat a dove? I think. Did he actually eat one? It doesn't look like he did. Well, I thought these were pigeons, so I didn't know they were doves. But interesting. I guess he did. Maybe when he was thrown in the building, he did actually manage to nibble on one, because that looks like what he's thrown up. And of course, you know, the chapter is called Doves, or Dove singular. All right. I guess that's the biggest bird. Denji gets a nibble. Be careful, though. Don't swallow the thing whole. Just drink some juice. Let's see. Why is this the most about? I get interesting. Because of Clucky? I think that's what the Chicken D was called that Asa ended up getting. That's enough to stagger Yoru? I get. Well, you know, though, I guess that fills into the idea that like Yoru actually cares for her kind now, and that actually being a weakness that backfires on her. But like, this isn't Clucky. This is just a random. Looks like just a random bird. Not even the biggest bird, just a bird. We'll see. Really? Like, this is, like, if you want, like, I thought maybe Asa was gonna take it. That's still Yoru. At least, like, by the markings, it's still Yoru. Okay, she's swerving. Oh, jeez. Oh, okay. Oh, and the bird just leaves. Bird's like, darn. It was wet and sticky in there. Also smelled like shrimp. I'm sorry, so stupid. Also smelled like shrimp. It just flew off. Yeah, like, look at that. Okay. Okay. And she just hard crack. Also, you did have brakes. You could have gone around the biggest bird. Okay. Swerve, roll, wham! And then the bird's just like, all right. Bird said deuces. Flop. Oh! And she's bleeding. Did she lose a tooth? What? All right. This is I mean, I was talking about like the blending of their two personalities and stuff. I mean, I'm not sure. Like, I hope that in this very instant, I'm not sure how I'm feeling about it. Let me keep reading though. Before I pass a judgment, we still got a few pages. Let me keep reading. Why won't this wound heal? Actually, it's a good question. Oh, wait, let's see. Hey, the wording of your contract specifies the people that Pencil Man's too afraid to say because he's scared. The people shoulder attacks against you, doesn't it? When you crash your motorcycle into the school. We get immediate replay of the past. Oh wait, no. Let's go back. Oh no, this is a callback to the. Is it a callback to the original time? Because this is the second time she used the Oh wait, no. No, this is this moment? Am I stupid? It looks drawn slightly differently. I'm not sure. I remember that this is the second, like this is the third time we've seen the Chainsaw Cycle. So maybe this is earlier. I don't remember. Let's see. When you crash a motorcycle into the school, those injuries didn't heal up. That means the people won't help you if you're yourself. Denji, once again, a great way to show Denji's like just understanding of the world, which is hilarious considering, you know, Yoru, an actual D versus Denji, a guy. But it is very interesting to see, once again, Denji's, this isn't even like just Denji's battle IQ, this is general IQ, him understanding the importance of wording in contracts and binding agreements like that. And ultimately, yeah, it does make sense. I don't, like, clearly this is a callback to an event that, at least I don't remember the top of my Don't Be's, I'll really admit, but an event that clearly did happen before. It looks just different enough from this event, considering the different design of the motorcycles and actually one being a flashback panel. But this is a fantastic way for Denji to, once again, show his consistent observation and understanding, where he's like, oh, well, based on previous instances where you've interacted like this, things didn't go your way. So, of course, in the same instance where you hurt yourself, obviously the contract you made won't kick in. That's a fantastic way to show Denji's general IQ in terms of like, hey, here's how these things work, because I know them better than you, person who actually made the contract with the people. But on top of that, a great way of showing Denji's consistent battle IQ and how, like, tied in he is to certain details. Obviously, though, I feel like, did Denji mean to throw up a bird? Like, does he even have, like, my only issue with this, it does feel kind of random. It'd be one thing if we saw Denji eat one of the birds. But I don't think we do. I don't think we saw him eat any of these birds. And those birds don't even look like the dove that flies out here, at least seemingly, if this is a dove or not. There's another pigeon. Like, I wish we got to see him eat the bird. Like, maybe, hold on, I'm gonna go back to 227 real quick, just to make sure I didn't miss it. Let me take a look in a book, meaning rainbow. If it would go. Hello, function, please function. Okay. Very strange. Let me see. Yeah, I mean, maybe he ate a bird before, because yeah, none of these birds even look like the quote unquote pigeon in next chapter, and he falls back first, so I'm not sure when he would have eaten a bird. So, like, this is something I'll definitely leave to y'all. Do you guys remember him eating a bird? Because, like, this feels way too specific. And also, does he have context for Clucky? Like, my main thing is the one thing I'll say. The reason I'm like, I'm not really sure, because it does feel like we may be ending the battle here, unless, you know, Yoru gets up and Denji gets up and they have, like, just a knockdown, drag-out, slug-out fight rather than, you know, all the crazy big bad D powers. But should that bird be able to fly after just being soaked in Denji juice? I highly doubt it. But still fine for the narrative. The dove flying away. And also, like, what? I think doves are... Hold on. In fact, I'm even going to check this. It feels oddly specific that dove, and this smells like the end of the battle. Hold on. Do doves flying away signify anything? Let's just do that. Do doves flying away signify anything? Doves flying away generally symbolize peace, letting go of burdens, new beginnings, and spiritual release. Does that have to do anything with... I'm going to go to specific end of a war. Does flying away strongly signify that that's the... yeah, but you know what? They are a symbol of peace. So I think this is the end. I think that, like hold on, let me keep reading. If you're yourself. Yoru? Okay, she's legit just bleeding out. Why? Why'd you avoid that dove? See, yeah, it was a dove. It wasn't a pigeon. I was like, why'd you avoid that dove? Yoru? Because you hate it when birds are killed. Hassan. Okay. I'm gonna have to stroke the beard on this one. I'm gonna have to stroke the beard on this one. I have to think. Oh, stroke the beard. Oh, I'm not sure I like this. I'm not sure I like it. Okay, here's the thing. Obviously, I'm down to, like, that symbolism thing in the back of my mind. I do get it. And obviously, I was talking like throughout this entire chapter about the sheer apathy of Yoru and how she possibly was even having second thoughts on, you know, ending this entire thing, considering it was the end of everything. Even though she says she'll tear him to shreds, she doesn't seem to have any joy in her face in comparison to before. And also, obviously, I do get now, I looked it up, the symbolism of the dove flying away. The doves being the symbol of like an end of battle, of peace, of spiritual awakening, spiritual release, the releasing of burdens. And obviously, Yoru's whole story has been the burden of her original loss to Chainsaw Man and the losing of her power, and obviously how she wants her to create her ideal world. So obviously a dove flying away at the end of this battle, signifying the end of it, it does make sense in the context of the narrative. I think like I will like, I'm gonna it like, and you know what, I'm always down for a smooth little plot contrivance, right? I personally believe if you can write a narrative without at least a little bit if you can write a narrative with zero plot contrivance, like everything has a logical is causatic the word? Is causatic? I feel like it's not a word, but essentially, if everything has a natural causal relationship and there's nothing, like not even your inciting incident in your narrative has no contrivance to it, that's genuinely insanely impressive. Like, every narrative I can think of, even the most popular ones, have, like, some form of contrivance, right? Think of One Piece, Luffy, I mean, like, there's Destiny stuff getting thrown into that now, but, like, Luffy getting the Gomu Gomu no Mi. Think of Ichigo, once again, there's a whole, like, oh, it was all part of Aizen's plan. But, like, even then, we know that was actually kind of a bit random with the whole, like, Ichigo being born the way he was, and obviously encountering Rukia when he did. Like, there's still a whole bunch of randomness in terms of that. Think of Naruto and just the nature of the series, kind of, sort of, for the most part, with the, like, even with the whole retcons of the Otsutsuki. A lot of that isn't really Destiny stuff. It's like, oh, these things happen, and then even the Reagan Destiny and that narrative. But, like, a lot of these stories happen due to contrivance. Even the most popular ones, even the most major ones. Heck, Chainsaw Man itself happens because contrivance, right? You know, Pochita ran into Denji, of all characters. But for the, like, once again, maybe this isn't the end of part 2. Maybe there is some other bigger, badder threat. But for the end of this crazy climactic battle to be because Denji randomly threw up a dove that I don't even remember him eating. Like I'm not sure how much I lean and rock with that, because like this is like as far as I can tell, this is it. And especially with, once again, the symbolism of the dove. I'm like, this kind of, I'm not gonna say it has to be it, but it basically, if it looks like it's it, if it smells like it's it, and it tastes like it's it. Like, this is a battle that's over. And for Yoru to end the battle, not only because Denji ran into a dove, but because of the specific like emotional connection that Asa in particular has to birds, and that's why she avoided it and ended the battle under, like. It's weird, because like we know Yoru's been completely willing to override and even use Asa's existence as like a hostage negotiator against that. Like, the only copium, and this is multi-layered copium that technically works, which is why I think it is a fat contrivance. It's like such a fat contrivance. I almost don't want to give this chapter word this, but I'm not gonna give it like a full dramatic draw. I'm gonna just barely put out. I'm gonna give the chapter worthiness, and I'm gonna explain why. And now this is some on the fly copium. So feel free in the comments, let me know if I'm puffing too much copium for Fujimoto. I think specifically Yoru's expressions in this chapter, even arguably towards the end of last chapter, but especially this chapter, and what she embodies, and her mix with Asa. I think this is a culmination of multiple things. I think Yoru, in a very similar way to Aizen, was someone who kind of never wanted to win, right? Like if you think about it in the ways that Yoru's gone about things, for all intents and purposes, she's kind of a serial bag fumbler, right? Like, there were so many different ways that she possibly could have won this earlier if she played things smarter, this, that, and the third. So, like, you can definitely argue, one, Yoru always wants to lose. Always wanted to lose. So there's that. Then two, obviously there's Asa's manipulations here. This seems like maybe Yoru's saying, like, and this is me literally looking at the text and be like, no, it's not that, it's this, because I'm coping. But Yoru's saying, because you hate it when birds are slain. You could argue that as literally like a systemic, like autoimmune response, essentially, because we know they still share certain reactions, they share certain emotions, they share the same brain. So the imagery of possibly slaying another bird is what forced Yoru to do it, even if she herself wouldn't have done it in the moment, because she still is fundamentally fused with Asa. There is that. There's also the like thematic ideas of what war is, and ultimately how the end of war isn't necessarily a thing that's ever really allowed to happen. Think about war in our real world. While there are many wars that have ended, There are many wars that have raged on for like years, decades, centuries, some as long as entire nations have existed. Like, legitimately, war ends, but it's not necessarily ever allowed to end. There's always going to be some sort of armed conflict between people, because no matter what, we're probably going to find a way to slaughter each other in mass for no reason. And maybe that's an aspect of YORU playing into here, where I talked about earlier how her expressions were kind of like disinterested. You know, this is like, I'm doing it because I have to at this point, and because I said I would, but it's not really any passion behind it. Maybe YORU just didn't want the war to end. She didn't want to get rid of Denji, because like that was her final opponent. It was her final task. It was her final thing before she just went on to rule basically an endless, slowly dwindling and slowly more boring world. So she found the excuse she needed in this moment to swerve and destroy herself. And that's my copium. That's my copium, right? It's a multitude of factors, all that work together. I still, like, it's still very hard for me to hop, skip, and jump over the contrivance of Denji having randomly eaten a dove at some time. But I'm going to go under an assumption, and if anyone knows in the comments, please let me know. Please, because this will really depend. I almost want to stake the chapter's worthiness on it. I do like the expression. I do like the character work for YORU in this chapter, except for like once I get to the if someone can point me to a chapter where Denji ate the dove, I think I can go with it. And if someone can point me to a chapter where Asa explains the whole dove thing to Denji, or like the Clucky situation, which I just don't remember her doing. That seems like a personal Asa thing. Let me know. Because I feel like it is still just massively contrived. They threw up the perfect dove, especially right after he ate something, and we already seen that right when Denji throws up after he's just eaten, he typically throws up the last thing he ate. And obviously those weren't like at least I don't think these are doves at the end of 227 and 228. Unless we just don't see him eating it. So like I'm gonna give it that. But if you made it all the way to this video, please do me a favor and leave "Is this the end?" question mark. Is this the end? Question mark in the comment section down below. I want to thank you so much for watching. If you want to leave a like, share, comment, and subscribe. Make sure that link to notifications so you don't miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also going to have a Patreon below. Use more me for as low as $1 a month. Things like exclusive videos, early content, and more. You also now become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. So those perks include the live reactions here of the series time to review, ad reactions of all my videos, early ad free access to all my videos, early ad free access to all my videos, not just over here on the main channel, but on the second channel that got the reaction, which drops 2-hour to 45-minute, or 45-minute, 2-hour-long reaction videos every Saturday at 1 p.m. EST. Over there, you get early access to all those videos here as a Patreon member. And of course, if you are a Patreon member, you get direct access to me naturally at all times, priority comment response, all stuff like that. And also, you get your name listed at the end of every single video. Not just videos over here, but videos for the second channel. If you're a $3 member or higher, $3 patron or higher, you get your name listed and read aloud at the end of every single video. On top of that, I do have a link to my Twitch, that guy with the controller down below. Stream every Friday, 8 p.m. EST. We have a wonderful time over there. We've been playing Silk Song. I want to play some Showdown. I want to play some Fighters. So we'll see what I do. This guy becoming extreme. Roll through. We talk about literally anything and everything. And on top of that, I do have the link to my Ko-Fi solution down below. You drop 5 views to a short video, 200 means a whole video, or any means at all. Any support is always greatly appreciated. And I want to thank you so much for watching once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is That Yellow Pencil, writing off. I'd like to thank you to our sketch tier members: Eternal Flame, Red Wolf 4765, Astro, Glacier XZ, Zera, Che2MA, Gyomi, Buddha Ura, Yuki Ally, Grim, Ollie, The Boy, Corey Watson, Damon Brown, Magic, CCC, Dino, Hector Gonzalez, Tim Thomas, Kilving, Julian Perez, RXN, Nevis97, Logan Guzman, Dead Meme, Keon Stewart, Donovan McIntosh, Hamza Idrisi, BNA DNA, Edwin Idbignova, Straw, Athenzi Shear, Antavius Mitchell, Superflame Zero, Weary Exile, Window Life, Alex Kenny, Victor Jacobs, Todd, The Practical One, Landon Clapwick, Heath Nelson, CAET, Funny Dude, Jagoda, Plant Crone, Striga Man, Brandon Payne, Black Sage, Multi-Batman Superman, Ramondo Furen, Zalims, Enzo, Union I Metatron, Sheesh King, Joe Bean, Aswin, Hedy Prasetya, Sleepin' John, JMB, Katie, The Young Family, Pastel Pandora, Sino King, and NMA. Then, let me thank you to Artline Art Tier patrons: A+A, Sean, Midnight Lord 21, Karina Hernandez, and Lil Kodo. Then, let me thank you to our Inc. Tier members: King RTX and Shrimpo the 4th Shrimp 06, along with Zom. And then, let me thank you to our Digital Art Tier members: J Warrior, AZ Void, and Valden Nissen. And I'd like to give a final thank you to our colored art tip patrons, Walkie Munoz, and Aonesto902 at gmail.com.